I mean, that's pretty much a no-brainer here, so that's going to get locked in. It's most likely going to Cabochard's hands.
Gragas Thresh was the draft in game 1, but I like this. Gragas, Tahm Kench is the draft in game 3 here for G2. Now you take away one of those map tools that Vander used very well in the first game to punish G2. Ashe, I still think is worth picking for Vitality. Even if you pick it with the Thresh, it is still fine. Gives them the engage tool, just less ability to close in and close the distance on G2.
They're really letting it go down to the wire here, but they actually locked the Lulu. I wonder if they don't start going towards something a little bit more hyper carry oriented with that.
So we've been seeing a lot of Caitlyn Lulu when it is available. I wonder whether, but obviously the Caitlyn is banned in this game. I wonder whether we'll see something like a Kog'Maw, which is not a Steelback champion.
It's a Sven champion, though. That'd be a nice takeaway.
It is, and of course Sven does have that option being played with a Tahm Kench. You can play a lot. Now, Lulu will give a lot to the push, and we have a team fighting AD carry.
So this is a Steelback kind of champion. When he was unleashing on that spray and pray, that's what we saw him do well with when he was dying a lot, but he was getting a lot done in the early weeks. Of course, for G2's side, they picked themselves the Gnar for Expect blind in this one as we enter the second phase of bans.
So the Lulu is going to help supplement some of the laning phase for Twitch. You get the shields, the harass, the push. Against Tahm Kench, he can't really pressure you out all that much. Now with the Gnar locked in, looking at matchups that can be played into it, the Aurelia is the first one that always comes to mind. Of course, the Cho'Gath could go top lane. We saw that as a top lane matchup yesterday into Gnar, and it actually did a good job of out-sustaining the Gnar in the laning phase and didn't let Gnar bully him.
All right, G2, they ban away the Jax, even though we still could see that Cho'Gath in the top. They also ban away the Maokai, so Joko won't get a chance on that one now, and it's back in Vitality's court for the final ban.
Yeah, I like the Ashe ban out of Vitality, and now the Varus, taking away some of the strength in the lane here with Kalista, Varus, Caitlyn banned out. You have to kind of go somewhere else for Sven. Maybe they'll even look to pick it last. There's always these crop of AD carries that you don't want to pick into potential high crowd control compositions, the likes of a Kog'Maw. So if you draft a Syndra here for a safe mid lane, you can last pick the AD carry and see what, in fact, Vitality line up.
You can, but I feel like Vitality is one team you don't want to leave the Kog'Maw up against because we've seen Nukeduck do it in the mid lane.
That is true. That was into Corki, though. He wouldn't pick it into Syndra, I wouldn't imagine. Into Syndra, the options right now, you've got either a scaler like the Vladimir we've seen a couple of teams pull out.
I'd take the Kennen.
It's a Kennen in the top lane, most likely.
That should be a jungle Cho'Gath.
We've seen Kennen in a bunch of different places. We've seen it as a support in LCK. This into the Gnar is one of these matchups where you can play range versus range, try and assume control over the side lane, but they're going quite heavy into the AD. That is either a Jace mid lane. There's a couple of flex potentials here. I am also keeping Cho'Gath as a mid lane, like, not for this game specifically, but as an option. I think it's better top and jungle. Likely to be the jungler out of this lineup for Vitality, and then you have to see where the Kennen and the Jace end up going. Both can be played into Gnar.
Okay, so for G2's side, they decide they want to push things back a little further. Do have a hyper carry though, just the Tristana locked in for Sven, paired up with that Tahm Kench.
Yeah, you get that late game presence, you get tower push, you get safety with not only the rocket jump, but the Tahm Kench now as well. Is that a mid lane Jace by the looks of things?
Looks like it should be. Things settle the way they are. We'd see the Lulu swapped with the Cho'Gath and Joko taking it.
Of course, Jace commonly now building the Duskblade in solo queue has been banned out quite a significant portion of the games here on 7-14 already. So Vitality with a difficult composition to pull off as the timer ticks down here. This is actually an awkward one because there is no hard crowd control outside of Rupture to engage a fight with. Like, maybe you go Righteous Glory Kennen and run into a fight, but this is the type of composition Cho'Gath doesn't necessarily do well in.
Well, if I know Yamato Kennen, the man has a plan, but is it going to be enough to take out the reigning kings of Europe? It's Young Buck hastily looking to walk off that stage. That was an interesting pick and ban for game 3. We'll see what ends up happening in this one, but we want to know what you guys have to say at home. We've seen that fan vote swinging back and forth, but a lot of people put their faith in Vitality. So if you still believe that they can knock off G2 eSports, hashtag VIT went over at LOL eSports one more time. If you think that the Kings will come right on back swinging, it is hashtag G2 win. Getting into game 3 here between Vitality and G2, and it's been explosive. It's been extremely interesting, and I'm loving patch 7.14. These teams surely are too. So let's load up onto Summoner's Rift already for the 3rd time today.
And we haven't touched much on G2's composition in this game so far. They've got engage tools, they've got cross-map play with the Tahm Kench, you've got good scaling out of Tristana. The Gnar can at least have that big impact in team fights. I'm worried for Vitality coming out of this draft phase because once again they picked a very difficult composition to actually make work. You're assuming Jace is going to have a sense of control on the side lane for one of them and Kennen will have the other, but then look, Tahm Kench just goes into the mid lane and kills Twitch. Difficult.
Yeah, well that's always a possibility. I want to see what Nukeduck makes out of this, Jace. I mean, a big feature of this matchup for us had to be this mid lane matchup, but of course Perkz is pretty apt on roaming. It hasn't so much been about this mid lane. We've seen it focused on the top. We've seen it focused on the bottom. I think this is the game where we might start to see things break out in the mid lane.
Yeah, I agree. And Nukeduck will likely look towards the Dusk Blade we've seen on Jace. Obviously, one of the biggest strengths for that is Jace can easily utilize that with his ranged form. You move into a bush, get that Night Stalker passive, get an auto attack down, move back into the bush, get another one down, move back into the bush, and just get a significant amount of extra damage. That's why he's such a potent force in the top lane, is because there's so many brushes readily available there.
And it's also key, too, that Vitality, if you look at this comp, they have a lot of abilities to kind of boost their speed. You have the Lulu Whimsy, you have Cabochard can kind of boost himself forward with Lightning Rush, and of course Nukeduck has the Acceleration Gate. So maybe they don't have like the best hard engage, but they definitely have ways to close the gaps a little quicker on G2 in some of these fights. And I feel like if they play it out right, they can definitely take it to them.
But I think closing that gap is only half the battle. Once you've used all of your mobility tools to get there, suddenly you have to be able to then take the team fight. It's going to be an interesting set of skirmishes here for Vitality. Jace going right in that hammer form. Just obviously gets the increased damage, a lot of damage off his autos when he's in melee form. And to the
Let's
skies,
see what Joko ends up doing here. He's on the level 2, going around this terrain, trying to get a quick move onto Perkz. Instant exhaust. Rupture flashed away from. That's 2 quick summoners burn. We saw that happen to Perkz last time around. Yeah. Nukeduck did use his own exhaust.
Same as game 2 here, as Perkz gets this early emphasis. And now if this game continues to go the same route, it'll be top side next. But look, bottom lane, trading out of Steelback and Vander.
Oh, that's a lot of harass. They want to go all in. Exhaust traded for exhaust. Heal comes out, and Steelback, explosive charge on him, has to be careful. Tristana, even at low levels, can still dish the damage.
And this is how Lulu can facilitate some of Twitch's bad laning phase, or not necessarily bad laning phase, but just not as strong as a lot of champions. Tristana's laning phase is okay, and Tahm Kench is more of a defensive champion. So Vander and Steelback reading this in an aggressive pattern to make sure they can get as much trading as they can. And look, they get 3 summoners for it in exchange for just the exhaust out of Vander. So it's a nice setup already for Vitality. Getting early summoners from this game, trying to put Perkz behind, trying to put the bottom lane of G2 behind as well.
Yeah, keep them on the back foot, Vitality. See what they can get done. They definitely have themselves some late game scaling. I mean, you think about that Twitch, that is one of those hyper carries. If they get the right team fight, it'll work out for them. Duskblade on, of course, the Jace can certainly be a really damaging factor. And then, of course, if Joko starts getting them feast stacks on, I mean, it can be lights out. I want to see what the Kennen ends up doing. So obviously they picked this specifically, I think, for this matchup into the Gnar. Expecting on the other side, G2 thought that the Cho'Gath would be the matchup that they would end up taking, but clearly Vitality really valued having Cabochard in something that he was comfortable in.
We've not seen a lot of success here on the Kennen in the top lane. We've started seeing a couple of extra builds coming through the pipe work in 7.13, where you build more towards those attack speed items out of a Zeal we've seen a few times. So I'm wondering on the itemization-wise where Cabochard ends up going. I do like Kennen's support because you can actually afford to buy Righteous Glory. You don't need to buy damage. And it's a very fun playstyle to watch. I don't think the same can be said for a top lane Kennen. If you invest that heavily into Righteous Glory, you basically lose control of that lane and are playing only for team fights, which is not what Vitality are looking for with this composition.
Especially not against the Gnar. Now, the 2 junglers are actually making their way up to the top side. Trick is the one who finds out Joko a little quickly. Yeah. It's, when you're trying to sneak around, and the other guy's trying to sneak around, and you both bump into each other.
Trick commonly happens.
Yeah, all the time.
Every single day
Haven't
of
you
my
seen
life.
sitcoms? Come on, that's like real life all the time.
Plenty, but British ones are better than American.
Whoa,
That's just how it is.
Whoa. The Office is great.
Did you watch the British Office? It's so much better. It's so much better. But I'm
gonna have to disagree with you.
What is better for Vitality is this top lane matchup. Look, 36 CS to 26 have already forced out the potion. I expect Cabochard is able to easily bully this lane. This is why we do see Kennen picked from time to time into the Gnar. Has good trading potential.
Yeah, right now getting that big CS lead, and of course expect itemizing defensively, should be working his way towards that Hex Drinker to kick things off. And Perkz, once again on this Syndra, seems to be having a relatively comfortable laning phase after the gank had already gone down. He's got his Ghost back off cooldown. Really want to see if Joko's able to make a return gank, but just not fast enough right now. He's been trying to stack things up on his Bomby. Cinder is actually making his way down to the bottom side instead.
Yeah, we'll see if you can get into the lane. Remember, of course, no flash on Mithy. That's the target they'll be looking for if they do go aggressive into the bottom lane.
Still level 4 on the Cho'Gath, so won't be nomming down anytime soon. Then in Mithy, respecting some of the distance here, even with this Tristana, not going too far forward. Steelback Vander a little bit low, but they're playing aggressive. It has to ring some alarm bells right now.
I mean, Steelback and Vander have been playing aggressive for the majority of this laning phase. They already got the 3 summoners.
But have they been on half health bars for the majority of it?
That's true. That's true. It gives it away, gives everything away at that point. But look, Sven's just going to push out, make sure that they can recall, and that's what Steelback and Vander were looking for, trying to just get a good recall timing to try and reset the lane. But Sven and Mithy have done a good job of actually making sure they stay even and pushing a wave under the Tower of Vitality when they're not there to accept it.
All right, well, let's check back in with the mid lane right now, because Trick is waiting around, seeing if he can get a gank off on a Nukeduck who goes to the skies, and all of a sudden the Fat Man is there, throws the barrel down, level 5, which means he does not have his ultimate cask available, and Mithy's incoming as well. The Shock Blast stinging even as early as this with just the Hex Drinker on.
Yeah, will do a significant amount of damage. Of course, Hex Drinker, a necessary buy for a lot of the mid laners into Syndra. Basically, just keeps them safe. And I have some developments for you in the top lane.
Oh, it's going way up there.
We've been talking a lot about how Kennen is an AD bully in that top lane. I think we have to actually pause here because, look, G2 are going to come into the mid lane. I'll pick up that point again.
Ooh, double scout of the week. There's the cast we were
on the way
looking for.
here, too.
Nukeduck, let's see if they can get him. Unleash the power, but he's able to stay alive, just barely. As he goes to the skies, Vander was there in time, and the Dark Sphere, not quite enough. All right. Knock it off.
Yeah, Perkz takes a Shock Blast to the backside on the way out of that. And we were talking about top lane. That's going towards a Proto Belt, Pyra.
Yep.
This is an AP Kennen.
And it was all a bait with the Doran's
Of course,
blade as
you
well.
start Doran's Blade, you get the damage for the laning phase. You can actually, if observers will toggle over to Cabochard's profile in the bottom left of your screen, you'll see he's actually running AP. Yep, you can see 73 AP currently coming from his kit. He will end up building more Proto Belt into then likely the Zhonya's that'll come through at some point. And that means Kennen's gonna explode people in team fights. This ain't a side lane Kennen anymore.
Yep. And it's an interesting change of pace as well, because I know you were bemoaning the fact that Vitality had seemingly so much AD and it was really relying on Joko, honestly, to dish the AP damage, but this definitely balances it out a little bit. Obviously, there's a reason we haven't seen as much AP Kennen since Season 6. But if there's somebody to bring it back, I feel like Cabochard's high on that list.
Yeah, Smeb's the other person that you're
Smeb
like,
is the
okay,
guy that's going to just wreck everyone with it, but Cabochard will give it a go, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure, and it's always fun to watch an AP Kennen. One of the reasons that it drops off is it is very all or nothing. Like, if you go into a team fight and you get exhausted and you lose your damage and you don't Zhonya's, you don't stun people, suddenly you don't have that impact anymore, whereas the side lane Kennen focused on maintaining the split push, typically can just bully around his opponent. That's something that Expect will take over in this matchup. He's going to build Hex Drinker at some point in this matchup. That might be what he's going for as a first item. Then he gets Frozen Mallet, Black Cleaver, and suddenly he doesn't die anymore to this AP Kennen. But speaking of dying, Perkz maybe in the middle lane.
Oh, Scout of the Week, but to the skies goes Nukeduck, and it's first blood as Joko gets the finishing kill. However, he gives his life for the effort as Trick has showed up along with Mithy, who gets a lick onto Nukeduck. Vander coming to join the fray as well. All of a sudden, action explodes in this mid lane.
Trick managed to even up the kill score by getting the ultimate to blast Joko under the tower, but this is Vitality trying to repeat gank on these flashes being down. That's what they did very well in game 2, where they had that unorthodox start with Maokai, got 2 flashes down, and look, they got flash from Perkz earlier on. Nukeduck was expecting Perkz maybe to go back towards the lane, and Joko blasted under the tower a couple of times in order to take him down, but Nukdug was easily able to get first blood for himself before the reaction from G2.
Absolutely. Steelback and Vander now on this bottom side getting the push back on, and I feel like the junglers have definitely been paying, as we expected, a lot of attention in this mid lane. They both showed up right at the right times, but Joko, of course, given his life for the effort, still had a pretty big impact in this series. To be honest, on the Maokai in the last couple of games, was really critical in kind of setting up Vitality fights. Obviously, it was much more important in game one. Yeah. But on this Cho'Gath, I want to see what he does with it, because Cabochard got pretty darn big in game one.
He did, and we've seen Joko do well in general in this whole series. You were talking about how close it was in game 1 and 2. Well, you see the stats from game 2 here. Very similar on each metric that we normally track here for junglers. Of course, Vitality were behind a lot because of the way G2 were playing, but Joko himself actually having a lot of presence around his lanes with his jungle proximity. Well, he's coming in now. In fact, it's Cabochard, not Joko, that's arriving.
Surprise, top laner can gank too, and he does get himself a big stun. That's a lot of damage, even with the gray health on. Mithy is not long for the world, and Steelback will take him out.
So we're gonna have a couple of tiers of mind games in team fights here. So Cabochard comes in with the flank. That's what AP Kennen is great at doing. That's what Cabochard is gonna try and do time and time again in this game. Look for a teleport in from the side. Then it's on Sven to try and get the buster shot in order to blast him back. But look, Expect is here. He's about to turn into Meganar. Steelback is dead.
Nowhere he can go right now. He does get the heal on, tries to get the outplay onto Sven, but Trick meanwhile has already taken out Cabochard. Steelback finds himself isolated. Can he take down Sven before falling? The answer is no, and Vitality double down and lose double champions.
Yep. Unfortunately, double or nothing gives them not a lot of return from that. No, Nukdug!
Oh. Wow, Scuttle Crab is the best shield. That was fantastic.
Nukdug's like, okay, I'll get the extra damage from Serrated Turk. Okay. If I kill the Rift Scuttler, I'll get an extra 40 damage. Well, now Nukdug, you're in a lot of trouble, because here comes the Tahm Kench, here comes the Gnar. If they can get the slow off the Boomerang, no, Expect can't close the distance for it. So G2 just gonna take advantage from the bottom side of the map. That is Tower First Blood going over
Wait
to
a minute, Sven! Oh,
worth.
All right.
Totally worth.
But let's just take a look at all the fallout from that. After the play down bot where Vitality looked like they had the edge, it was G2 coming up with return kills, G2 getting the tower. Here's where it all began, though.
So here's the surprise moment for if G2 didn't know this was AP Kennen already. Takes a decent amount of damage, but look, Buster Shot blasts him back away to mean Vitality can't actually follow this up, and they say, okay, well, we'll commit to this. We'll try and get the tower down. And Sven, remember, Tristana has good AoE wave clear. If you just kill one minion, you can get a couple extras out of that, and Expect had enough time to TP in. Steelback was too far pushed up. Don't think they really respected the fact that that teleport came through, and from there, Steelback, no mana, no health, no life at this point. G2 end up taking him out. But now Vitality focus down that bottom main tower.
Yeah, should be able to get it here. 13 minutes in now. Rupture. Sven just narrowly avoiding that one. He does hop in. They can't actually finish this tower. Now Trick is here. He comes in, throws the cast to separate the team. Joko is the one who's caught out and isolated. Sven hopping in, but it's Trick who demolishes him at the end of it.
Vitality are taking early game trades, so they cannot really afford to. Cabochard, no teleport this time, so he couldn't be there to flank. Now Perks. Oof.
Ooh, those shock blasts are hurt.
Yeah, they really
are. Oh. And even stops the farm. Oh, Mithy! Woo! That was spicy.
Oh, Mithy.
If he had gotten that, that would have been the most alpha move I think I've ever seen.
Mithy's like, Vander can't be getting kills in this game. I need kills. Gonna try and get the lick. Not enough. Mithy, so close.
I mean, he's Tahm Kench. There's a short list of champions where you can do that and get away with it. That is one of them.
Absolutely. And Mithy on this Tahm Kench, it's kind of like when you give somebody extra ability to play the game in a macro and strategical sense quickly, you get to see the next level. And I want to see G2 utilizing this well, because Tahm Kench is one of the champions that in their win in week 6 they actually look very good on. Denying any split push from their opponents again and again. Mithy would just get fights started, bring people in, and suddenly G2 are able to take over the game. I want to see the same thing happen again.
Yeah, well, Expect he's going to be in some trouble right now. Caught up 1v2. Cabochard actually taking that tower. He flashes.
That's
just outside the Rupture. And Joko, it's lunchtime.
underwhelming amount of damage right now coming from Cabochard as he used that Slicing Maelstrom, Proto Belt. He's then built towards armor to try and survive the lane a little bit more. But with the Cho'Gath there, able to give the stack over to Joko. Only on 4 stacks so far, 15 minutes into this game. We'll need to see Joko farm up a little bit more on those stacks and get tankier. He's only a little Cho'Gath right now.
Vitality have just had a hard time really finishing off towers. G2 have been defending very well. Nukeduck gets himself stunned back. It's kind of the weak. Shock Blast clears the rest of the wave. And speaking of Shock Blast, those are starting to hurt. And he's not even on the Dust Blade yet.
Right. You got to look at it at the fact that Vitality aren't at the point where they really can afford to fight yet. When Cabochard has TP and his ultimate available, sure, they can get a flank and they can actually get the numbers advantage. But look, any kind of even numbers fight, there's no Blade of the Ruined King yet on Steelback. Nukeduck doesn't have a finished item yet himself. Joko needs more time in order to become tankier, and G2, you've got a Syndra that has ultimate, you've got Gragas that's having great impact using the ultimate as well. It's much less item dependent this early on, and much more G2 just saying, okay, we're gonna fight you now, we've got these tools available.
But the fact that Vitality have been able to trade even in the kill count and keep the gold actually pretty manageable right now, I feel like it's very encouraging for Vitality, because once they do get those items and they feel like they can fight, things are gonna get bloody.
They are. Cabochard has his TP available. Duskblade is completed, which, if they fight around a bush, Nukeduck will get extra.
He's got to hit it, though.
Yeah.
Perks was pretty good at dodging when he didn't know it was coming.
I mean, still Nukeduck is able to just walk up and auto him. That one's not gonna miss if Nukeduck's close enough.
All right, Expect is not about to go Mega, excuse me, he has no bar whatsoever. Instead he just throws the Boomerang out, Cabochard leading the minion wave up towards this top. All the outers still standing for G2 Esports. Vitality, if they've been moving bot, they've been moving top. They're trying to get that gold, and I feel like once they finally finish it, it starts to even things out. It lets them finish off some of those item spikes, and that's the power.
Well, that's the power of Jace and a Shock Blast. Remember, that doesn't apply the Night Stalker passive of the extra damage. But hey, what does apply the damage is if you run up to someone coming out of a bush, change form to the skies, hammer form, hit down on them with all of that extra damage. That is a tasty amount. I mean, just wail on them with the Night Stalker passive going.
It makes sense, right? Like, the Dust Blade, it's a knife. You have to attach it to the end of the hammer. You can't shoot it out of the cannon. It might miss that way, and then you don't have your Dust Blade anymore.
People keep trying to attach knives to things, right? Like the knife wrench.
Hey, you know, itemization is starting to make more sense in League, though. Like now, Thornmail builds out of a bramble vest. Like it's kind of like a little cute association.
Somebody later should just ask Vedius what Negatron Cloak is. We had this conversation earlier in the office.
Please do not actually do that. It's dumb.
The word cloak is in it, and he was like, "Oh, the seashell." Like,
well, now you just gave it away.
I know. I figured I had to. Otherwise, it was a completely in joke that nobody would get. Hopefully, they go back to that later, but. Not really anything funny business going on in this game.
No, all serious. Vitality. It's worth noting what is at stake here. It's so crucial for this team to pick up a victory versus anyone, and we may not have been looking at G2 Esports as the potential contender for Vitality to knock off, but you know, they're still close to the playoff range, and Vitality, they have fallen down consistently every split since they've been in the LCS, only making one run at playoffs. And not recently. If they manage to beat G2 here, this is a huge momentum boost for this team. Going back into their own group and trying to finish out strong to make a playoff run would mean so much to Vitality and all their fans.
Significant momentum boost. Now G2 trying to close the gap onto Cabochard. Observers were showing us the gold in the lanes and the gold matchups. Look at how far Sven is ahead of Steelback on CS, and it turns out to be about 1,600 gold on the actual gold lead. This is a significant advantage on a scaling component out of G2's comp.
Yeah, that's a BF sword and some change. Looking good for Sven right now, and he's going to be getting even more in his pocket as Expect. Tanking up that tower allows him to destroy the top tier 1. Meanwhile, G2 are going to be able to take out the Rift Herald. And look at this. There's not a lot else that Vitality can get. Cabochard, he sat at second tier waiting for the wave to crash. And Steelback's down to the bottom, but that was money in the bank already.
Look at how near perfect the timing is going to be on this, because G2, they want to go aggressive. They're going to try and catch Cabochard, or at least push him away from the tower, because now they can maybe look for a Rift Herald play here. And what happens is you're taking away the map from Vitality. They're trying to play these side lanes with a flank. Now you're taking away the map, and the Baron is going to be spawning soon. It's not actually going to result in this tower, because look at Joko being able to arrive to commit. Has he got Feast? Nope, not available. Doesn't matter. As we found out earlier, it's only just a regular monster anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really big, but it's actually not quite filling. So, unfortunately for the Cho'Gath. He gets knocked away by Trick's...
Like candy floss.
Yes.
Not filling at all. In fact, the most disappointing of foods. Because it just
I'd
melts
say that's
away.
up for debate, but okay. All
It
right,
just
I'll give you that
melts.
one.
Like, how is that food?
It's not about eating it. I think it's about the sensation being fun. But, you know, I could be wrong. We could debate the relative strengths and weaknesses of candy floss later. Gotta go back
That's
to
not
this game.
strength. There is no structural integrity to that. If it rains, it's gone. You lose your food stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's check back in with this one. 2 swords now completed for Sven as he has that static shift. So even more wave clear for this Tristana. This is where it starts to be a really side-pushing menace. We saw this out of Reckless ages ago. Obviously, everyone who plays Tristana will know that you can start wrecking minions very quickly with or without that static shift, but it still comes in handy. And the item spikes for G2, we mentioned not being the most dependent on those items. Still starting to come in strong with the gold advantages that they have built for themselves.
Mithy just seeing if he needs to assist out Sven to get out of the pit there. Look, Zhonya's has been completed for Cabochard, so that's a big key factor in their team fights. You mentioned the Tristana and the lead. Sven's already at the point where his Q is at rank 4, gives him a 90% attack speed steroid, and of course Infinity Edge static shiv means that you're going to end up charging up after he's got rapid fire cannon those empowered, energized auto attacks so very quickly in a team fight.
We need to see Vitality start to fight things out against this G2 squad, but they are slippery. They have a lot of CC of their own, and they can use it for the disengage. And as you mentioned, the pick and ban phase, Vitality don't have the same level of engage tools. Obviously, the Kennon's going to help on the flank, but look what's happening. They just lose themselves so much pressure by not covering the side lanes. Nuketug is getting baited right into Trick, turned around, instant exhaust, doesn't matter, Buster shot back. And now it looks like they want to double down. Teleport coming in, Expect, he's hopping, he's knocked away by the hammer, and it's a hectic fight in the jungle. As Vander finds out the hard way, there are no allies coming to save him. Expect isolated as Vitality look for him. He's going to get nommed up, but it's by Mithy. That's the ally he wanted to have save his life, spit him right back out. Meganar coming in soon, but Joko, he's going to be in some trouble. There goes the big Gnar against the wall, and it's Sven that gets the kill. 3-1-3 on the Tristana.
Just when it was maybe looking close, G2 with a significant team fight win here. Vitality going 1 by 1 to try and take out Sven, and it just ended up that G2 commit hard to the exchange. Ooh, Perks trying to find Steel back in the dark.
Okay, that's a power unleash, and oh boy was it, but Nuketug flashing forward over the stun, getting the kill, but it's all bait as G2 are looking for the Baron here.
Perks had a smile on his face after a bit of a facepalm. Then Nuketug, if you can get some poke in here.
Already done, he checked a little too deep, and in goes Trick, knocks the cask, and that's gonna be Sven with another kill on the board. That Tristana is gonna get out of control.
Yeah, unstoppable is how Sven is gonna be in this game, because look, he's the bait. He's the carrot on a stick at this point. Look, Trick comes over. Easily fends off Nuketug. Then Sven turns his attention. We didn't see it in the main fight, but Cabochard is who is TPing in here. And if we zoom out a little bit, look at how little damage Cabochard actually does. Exhausted. Couldn't even get out. Wow, that energized damage from Sven was destroying the cannon.
I mean, this is just the difference in execution. Talked about the pick and ban being difficult for Vitality to execute. This comp, they just see teleport in too late, Vander being caught off in the wrong side, and G2 know how to punish when teams are not well positioned.
And the G2 comp is simple. Get a pick, keep fighting, because then Vitality can never do anything. Vitality are running a single frontline champion here with this Cho'Gath, and that is not a champion that can really get fights started. You can get maybe the Q from a distance, but that's so difficult to land. You don't have the Ash Arrow, you don't have anything like that. It's only Rupture to start a fight, and that doesn't do the job, whereas G2, they can use Gragas, they can use Tahm Kench to bring people in. Expect, if he can gnaw people as well, we'll get a fight started. Not to mention, Perks can take people out on Syndra from half a screen away.
Oh, that's true. I feel like Nuketug still has a lot of damage to contend with. Cabochard, once he can get another item, I feel like he'll start to be scary, but again, there is this reason that people haven't been picking this AP Kennen so much lately. Just doesn't pack as much oomph as it used to, and we need to see more out of this Vitality squad. Vander gets caught up. Maybe this is a chance for them to fight it out, but Mithy's there to swallow up the fat man. It doesn't matter. They can just keep him safe. They have the death denial, and now it's G2 on this bottom turret. Look at how fast this Tristana wrecks this tower.
Yeah. So quickly, Sven is able to shred through that. And look, you talked about Nuketug's damage. with a lethality build, of course, on Jace. These tanks aren't going to end up taking damage from him. There's a Gnar in Mega Gnar form. You've got Tahm Kench, you've got Gragas, all champions that are just going to be able to stand in front and provide a wall so that Sven and Perkz don't die to Nuke Dug. It's only going to be if Cabochard somehow finds that magical TP into a fight from the flank, gets the ult. Look, Steelback's going to try right now, but he takes too much damage on the return as well.
And they didn't layer it exactly. Steelback just tried to get them on the retreat, but there wasn't any disruption, there wasn't any knockup, there wasn't any CC of any kind really stopping Expect and the rest of G2 from moving back, and now they've got a second win. They can move on this tower. This Tristana is not going to run out of steam anytime soon, and the rest of G2 are healthy.
Yeah, G2 know how to play this out. They're a 10,000 gold lead. This already in their minds is a one game. It's just a case of actually doing it, and Expect tries to jump in. Actually ran out of Mega Gnar right as his ultimate was attempted.
Cabochard, no flash, couldn't get into the back and disrupt everyone, get the big ulti off that we were looking for. Instead, it's Joko who gets knocked back in by the Cask of Trick.
Ooh.
Steelback trying for a finisher. There's no ult on Perkz right now, and let's see if the Tahm Kench gets the swallow up. He does. Expunged. Now, Sven is still doing pretty well here as he's wrecking away at this tower, and with the minions still Baron empowered, he should be able to finish this one off with courtesy of Perkz and Mithy to kind of help him out. So they get themselves a bottom inhibitor, a mid inhibitor turret, and they should be able to pick up this dragon for free.
Yeah, Mithy just body blocks for Sven to get that last set of auto attacks onto the tower to take it down, and G2 are looking to ramp things up here. This basically is them closing in on the 2-1 win, but look, Vitality did such a fantastic job in game one of playing a fast style against G2. But once they show that hand, once they show the Tahm Kench, the Ashe, the Maokai, the Cho'Gath, it's difficult in a best of three to pull the same trick out again, and unfortunately Vitality just drafting riskier comps, split push style, trying to rely on a much more flimsy top laner of AP Cannon to try and get things done. I mean, you're against tanks. He's not that good at shredding through tanks. AP Cannon doesn't do that.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate to see if this is the way it ends up ending, and Vitality, a valiant effort for this team. They need a miracle of a fight, though, to get back into it. They do get a knock-up, and Expect takes a shock blast, but there you go. Some tank stats. Frozen Mallet as well coming in for Expect. Should be able to finish off this inhibitor in the middle, and it seems like it's just a slow demolition for G2 with Tristana at the front.
It's been this way for a while, but now Expect has full control of the side lane thanks to that Frozen Mallet Black Cleaver. It wasn't as if he was being pressured out before, but absolutely is his playground now. And G2, they don't care about the side lane, they care about mid right now, wanting to get that second inhibitor down, and it's slow and steady will secure it.
It seems like Vitality just don't have a trigger to pull. If they were able to go in, force that desperation fight, better to lose now than lose on later. If they can maybe get a cleanup, that'd be something, but they're just not willing to do it.
And that's why G2 are keeping them at arm's length for the majority of this. And Vitality have drafted from having heavy crowd control in game one to less in game two to almost none to get a fight started in game three. And that's counter meta right now. The meta that we are seeing teams succeed with is you get team fighting picks that start fights. And as long as you have subsequent crowd control, you also end those fights with the damage you've got. And G2 have drafted towards that themselves. They've got good protection in the form of Mithy, so Sven should never die here. Saying that, in goes Trick.
Yeah, gets the body bash, but he throws out the cast to push him back. Cabochard trying for the flank. He looks for Perkz here, but Perkz is nearly going to take him out before he goes golden. Joko will finish the job. Is this the fight that Vitality are looking for? Mithy swallows up his carry, but down on the bottom, Expect is finishing off Nexus towers.
Expect is able to get the damage done and actually secure the push.
And no one's on him.
G2.
Everyone's still occupied on the top side.
Well, Expect is now moving across. He's in Mega Gnar form, so we can't afford to push into towers like this, and it just means that G2 have already secured what they were looking for. You now, with the inhibitor down and only one Nexus tower, that's not even one Nexus tower, that's a third of a Nexus tower that remains, means that G2 recall, buy up, heal up, go to Baron.
Should be easy, like clockwork now. They went bot, they got bot. They went mid, they got mid. They went top, they almost got top. And it seems like it's just a matter of time before they can close this game out and shut the door on Vitality.
Well, Pyra, everybody's been asking, are G2 back? Lose the first game of the series, win it 2-1 after is exactly what G2 are looking to return to their form on. They download Vitality in game one, easily able to then just move their strategy in the right direction. And G2 look a whole lot more convincing in games 2 and 3.
Whoa, they know Tank Fu. Nicely done by G2 eSports right now, and it seems like the game plan, as you said, going to be on the Baron. Pretty easy to do as expect. Still in this mega form. He's going to run out, but he's got his TP, and he's actually going to spend it to get back to the safety. Oh, pulling the SOAS. No, we can't do it.
I mean, it seems getting Barons.
He tried, but that's worth.
Yeah. So they don't have Baron on the side lane. They don't have the teleport available. So G2 do have to play this a little more carefully than they would like to, but
that's a bit greedy by expect.
Yeah, just a bit greedy. But then you look at the item builds. Sven is an item and a half up on Steelback. Significantly far ahead right now. Has the lifesteal as well.
Yep.
Nobody as of yet is actually going to have anything to deny the lifesteal that's coming out of Sven as well. So with the Tahm Kench, there really is no way he's going to die now.
This is the dream game for Tristana, right? You just get to wreck all the towers. If you do get yourself a fight, you've got Reese's, and you have a Tahm Kench to save your life. I mean, it's no wonder he's only died once.
Yeah, and Sven is very confident now as we're reaching level 16. Tristana nearly at that max attack range that you get. 2 levels left means Sven can sit right at the back of a team fight with that rapid fire cannon as well. And that's where G2 have always defaulted to. It was even where Origin defaulted to when Sven and Mithy were on that lineup, was get to the late game, Sven wins the game. Great plan. This time, they've actually been ahead for the majority of the game, and they could have closed this out a little bit faster if they wanted to, by expect not getting caught on the bottom side. But
I mean, they're taking the scenic route.
I don't... Whenever we say, okay, they're closing it out slow, it always is true, though, that they could have finished the game faster. Now, Trick wants to. He wants to try and catch Cabochard.
Okay, that's the cast. Just going to separate, but still, even with Inhibitor back up in the bottom, the mid one going to respawn soon. G2 are looking to close this game out. Perks is the one on the side lane this time around. The rest of G2 just poking and prodding for an opening to try and end this one.
It's an 11,000 gold lead. Like this game is basically G2's whenever they want it now. 9 towers to 1, 2 dragons, nothing really else for Vitality to do other than farm. And you can see they're heavily down in experience as well. Steelback not at level 3 ult, neither is Nukeduck anywhere closer to being max level. He's got Ghostblade, Duskblade, which is great if you're at like 20 minutes into the game.
But they're just losing towers like very easily right now. And it seems like G2, this arm's lengthening, they're just keeping Vitality just far away enough, and Cabochard unable to really get the flank off because there's such vision denial here. No wards he can TP to if he even had the TP back up and available, and it seems like there just is no hope unless Vitality go for a last-ditch desperate charge.
Yeah, the only one would be if G2 was swinging down to the bottom lane, he could TP in behind them. Cabochard gets us on you. That's actually so catastrophic because Cabochard will survive all of half a second in the team fight now.
Yep, that's about it. So he should be going back up to heal, and meanwhile, Nukeduck tries to push away Expect, but the walls are collapsing around Vitality here.
This is one of the reasons why we don't see this AP cannon very often anymore. When we do see it, it tends to be very lackluster, is you don't have the impact.
Looks like we're going to have an explosive finish all the same. It's Sven picking up his opposite number. Steelback falling first as Cabochard right after. That's a double kill for the Trist. The hops keep on coming. Down to the fountain they go. And it's Vander and Joko to just watch their Nexus fall. G2 eSports can finish this one off in style. And oh boy, get a little eat on, but that's about it. It was a rough ride at Rift Rivals for this G2 squad, but a few weeks later, they're on a roll.
G2 eSports with the comeback, being able to download Vitality, turning things around 2-1 at the end. Drafting compositions that work very well in the meta. You have some sense of scaling, you have good catch potential, good team fights, disengage if you need it from this Gragas, and we've all been anticipating G2's return to form, and Trick is back on form at the same time on these tank junglers. It just lets him facilitate the rest of his lineup so very well. This game 3-0-7 on the Gragas. G2, they are back.
Yes, they are, and not perfectly, right? This isn't like the team that was completely perfect gaming just about every opponent when they were on their incredibly hot streak very early on in their LCS run. But all the same, they're showcasing a mastery of the game that we just didn't see from them at Rift Rivals. We didn't see from them earlier on in the split. And it's great that they're starting to find this form when it comes down to the wire, because they will definitely need it for playoffs and beyond.
Yeah, of course, we're getting ready in the coming weeks once we go back into the group play. G2 Fnatic is going to be one heck of a matchup.
It was great last time around, let's be honest.
We get a measuring stick of a matchup coming up shortly in Fnatic and the Unicorns, but to take a moment about Vitality, you've got to praise them for game 1. Vitality looked crisp, clean game one. Everything was going their way, and it looked so convincing. It looked like they could have 2-0'd, but draft issues, mechanical issues kind of plagued them throughout the game. And while they looked so much better, it's a disappointing loss considering how the series started for them.
Yeah, so they'll have to go back to the drawing board to try and find some wins and break into playoffs. It was a very close series, though. G2 are the ones that to celebrate afterwards, so let's go over to Dracos and the guys to break down the action.
Thank you, Pyre. G2 may get to celebrate. Not the case, however, for Vitality. We will praise G2. Of course, it was a fantastic series. It was a great closeout. However, we brought up some weaknesses when we were looking at Game 2, specifically issues with the draft. And I feel like those issues did the exact opposite of getting better here as we look at the draft for Game 3. Henning, what was your impression?
Kind of the same mistakes, but even worse for Vitality, if you can put it in that way. I mean, they picked kind of a hard-to-execute split-push comp in Game 2, and now it's just like even more of that, not really knowing where you're supposed to go with the comp. And you have to ask yourself, like after Game 1, what was it that worked for Vitality? You know, playing a lot around Nukeduck, having the supportive AD carry and support. Supportive support, obviously, but having a supportive AD carry. It's good to have. Ash and Tom Kent, really good ultimates there. But now this game, you put Nukeduck on like an early game lane-winning champion that's going to fall off, and then put all your eggs in the steelback basket, and that's not a basket I would go for.
So I think what Yamato Cannon and Vitality did here is kind of, they trapped themselves a little bit. I think actually they felt really great during the pick and ban phase because they were like, aha, see, the Cho'Gath. He's not top lane, so when the Gnar counter pick came in,
surprise!
He's in the jungle. They can pick the cannon top. That's a good matchup against the Gnar. They saw the Tahm Kench and said, no Maokai this time. Tahm Kench Devour counters that. Lulu Twitch, that's the counter they prepared. So like, great, we got counter picks in bot lane, counter picks in top lane. Nukeduck, he gets a good matchup for him in the mid lane. Specifically, not a winning matchup by any means. Jace is, of course, a great pick with items under his belt, but he just feels fine going even in that lane. So they were like, oh yeah, you know, this is a good draft.
Comfort pick for our boy Nukeduck.
And then,
winning lane matchups.
Yeah, and then I think Yamato Kenny went backstage, he looked at it and he said, wait a minute. None of these champions really work together that well. We can't really run down mid with the 5-man. AP Cannon with the Jace, that's kind of odd. It's not a 1-3-1 comp. It's kind of a teamfight comp, but it's not really a teamfight comp. I really, it was kind of lacking that red line through it, saying, okay, what is it you're trying to achieve here? Is it big team fighting? Is it sieging? No, because you have a Twitch and an AP Cannon with a Jace. That's not siege either. Is it strong tanks? No, there's barely any strong tanks in this lineup. So they were kind of lacking just an identity for their comp here, and it was really hard to execute. G2, they adapted. They were like, 5-man mid, baby. That's how we win the game, and that's what they did the last 2 games.
Definitely was. What do you think was the kind of the change? Was it just the draft timing that changed for G2 between game 1, 2, and 3, or also did you see them kind of play differently when it comes to in-game execution?
I think what I was impressed by in this game is that they didn't sweat falling behind. I mean, there was a big CS advantage for Cabo in the top lane, but still Expect just played safely, were able to scale up in the later stages, and then actually the split pushing with the Gnar worked out pretty well in the late game, so well-executed comp. Also, obviously, Sven on the Tristana doing great in this game. Having the extra safety of a Tahm Kench really worked out for them.
I think 99% of this was the draft. Because Game 1, we have to remember that G2 eSports were actually doing just fine in the early to mid game due to a bunch of mistakes coming in from Vitality's side that got punished. You know, the Baron steals and all that, not interrupting teleports. And that was with, again, a much inferior draft. They were actually still doing okay on the side of G2 eSports. As soon as they changed that up and they got the better team fight, they had no real issues, I feel like, at least, to just win this series. Had they drafted like that in Game 1, I think this would have been a 2-0 for G2 eSports. But obviously, they also probably changed a few things in-game in terms of focus and mindset and whatever. But I actually think a lot of it just came down to how good is your draft in the current meta and how easy is it to play.
Well, at the end of the day, one of the big factors in that game was Trick. He is going to win the player of the series. Now, of course, it's rough to assign a player of the series, I think, in this series, just because you had that rough game 1 for G2 where they did lose out, but Trick was this guy who was helping so consistently in game 2 and 3 to kind of make sure the team got an advantage. Yeah, really good stats there in the KDA and kill participation. Played the tanks as well throughout the entire games. 2 Gragas games and 1 Sejuani, so I think the meta game on 7.14, of course, really fits him well with the tank junglers. So impressed by Trick overall.
We like to show him, look at his screen.
Yeah, look at this dramatic shot.
This is him in-game being focused. We don't want to show any highlight clips to show just Trick right there. Chilling.
That's all you need, Martin. That's all
know,
you need. It's just
Really focused
the
on it.
intensity in his
Dramatic
eyes.
is art right there, you know, seeing Trick.
You
But,
don't appreciate modern art. That's the problem.
that's the problem, you know, I agree. I definitely don't. I just want to see him, you know, kill people left and right in game.
So, I mean, when we look at this draft, right, the thing that we keep talking about is these ARAM compositions. Of course, it's
almost
not
gets
officially
boring
an
to keep
ARAM
saying.
because it's not all random. It's more like PSGM comps. Pick stuff, go mid. Stuff being not the word I wanted to use, but more appropriate.
Okay.
But that's not catchy, so we're going to keep calling them ARAM comps.
Yes.
However, just to clarify, as I got a bunch of messages on Twitter, not all random. Is this just what we expect the meta to stay with, or is there like, or do you feel like this is just a result of the meta not being quite as explored?
I think the Lulu Twitch in the last game shows that there are other things that you can do. I think Lulu Twitch is smart when the Tom Kench is getting picked up early to counter some of these tanks. That's a route you can go for. And if you'd have a team more suited to that or playing with a team that's more suited towards playing around your AD carry, I think like there are still ways that you can outplay the tanks, the ARAM meta, but Vitality not the team to do so.
Yeah, what's going to happen now is everyone is going to jump on the hype train of drafting this way and playing this way, and then teams are going to start trying to figure out counters to it. It's the same that always happens when one thing kind of gets locked down as this is the clear meta. Each team tries to find the answer. Maybe it's being like a full disengage hyper carry comp with like a late game Cogmore and like Janna and Karma mid lane, just full protection, and he just melts the tanks. Is it things like Trundle maybe making his way back in, and you have his ulti for some of these tanks? Kane as well is fantastic at dealing with tank comps. I think there will be some answers coming in, but obviously then a problem is, can teams execute it on stage? Because they couldn't really execute some of the difficult comps before, most of them. Can they do it now? That's still going to be the big question.
Big question. We'll see as the patch continues. Well, we've got a big matchup coming up. Fnatic and Unicorns of Love facing off in our second series. And as we go, let's check out Tear of the Goddess, one of 2 new singles from Pentakill.
Maybe in the middle lane.
Oh, Sky of the Week, but to the skies goes Nukeduck, and it's first blood as Choco gets the finishing kill. Nowhere he can go right now. He does get the heal on, tries to get the outplay on Sven, but Trick, meanwhile, has already taken out Kabashard. Steelback finds himself isolated. Can he take down Sven before falling? The answer is no.
Yeah. He can kill you, I think. He can't kill me. Calm down. No, I'm him. But it's worth it. Let's get topside vision.
Right back out, Meganar coming in soon, but Joko, he's going to be in some trouble. There goes the big Gnar against the wall, and it's Sven that gets the kill.
I'm smurfing.
This game I try hard, like, please kill me, like this thing.
We're going to have an explosive finish all the same. It's Sven picking up his opposite number. Steelback falling first as Kabashard right after. That's a double kill for the Trist. It was a rough ride at Rift Rivals for this G2 squad, but a few weeks later, they're on a roll.